Hey YouTube, Greg here from Profit Picks. This is the second video of this channel. This one I've actually been thinking about doing for a while. So what I'm going to discuss here is what I believe the root cause issues are of the Chicago Bears, at least what they've been struggling with this year. I believe that it is a long-standing issue, not one that just appeared this year. So yeah, my beloved Bears have been a solid disappointment again. So you know, it's a shame. I didn't expect them to do as well as everyone else was expecting them to do this year. But I was not expecting this implosion, basically, that has taken place here at the end of the year. So yeah, digging into the topic, basically, you know, the Bears, just one thing I want to point out is, you know, they drafted Caleb Williams, and their pass protection is horrible. So you drafted a rookie quarterback. You didn't do much for the offensive line. And the rookie quarterback has been sacked like 4 times per game on average or something like that. That's horrible. That is absolutely horrible. To me, that is a gross miscalculation of how bad they expected the offensive line to be. I believe that is way too high risk when you're bringing in a player like Caleb Williams to make a long-term impact, to really turn this thing around. I feel like you needed to protect that asset a little bit better. Now, there's a lot of voices here on Chicago radio that have been saying the same thing, and I've agreed with them from day one. What I think we have going on here is a gross underinvestment in the offensive line. And it doesn't just stop there. It's just in the trenches, right? The defensive line has fallen off too. So the defensive line, we've had a better defensive line in the recent past, right? But the offensive line is priority in my opinion. It's just horrible. I have not experienced a good offensive line ever since the 06 era when they went to the Super Bowl. You know, with guys like Kreutz and Tate. You know, it's kind of just fallen off from there. And I think one of the biggest things is the Bears don't nurture that offensive line talent. They honestly don't really nurture much talent at all, except for maybe some defensive positions. So I think the Bears really need to invest in the offensive line here, because I think that is the root cause of the issues, basically. My theory here is that the Bears had something going this year, something more. Like I said, I was expecting a little more out of them, and I think that we would have seen that. I think that what happened is the offensive line had become an anchor that ultimately weighed this team down and basically deflated the entire unit down the road as the season progressed, right? So if you remember early on when the Bears went 4-2, the defense was showing up mostly. The offense was putting up a decent amount of points. Still kind of questionable. And they ended up going 4-2, and a lot of people here were excited. And but if you paid attention in those games, you could tell that the offensive line was still the weakest link. Now, when it comes to the NFL, I'm a firm believer that you are only as good as your weakest link, and this team has been entirely exposed. And this is one of those scenarios. Like I said, it's just where the weakest link has been exposed, and I think that, you know, the team, all the other units had a high energy and were trying to, you know, push this season forward. And I think eventually when this offensive line just ultimately made this offense spin its wheels and basically not get anywhere, that's where things kind of started to fall apart. I feel like that's where the players started to lose faith. I feel like that's where the coaches started to get their backs put up against the wall more than ever. So yeah, this is just a gross failure, I believe, on the offensive line. Now, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of room for improvement in other areas. I'm not putting this all on the offensive line, but the point that I'm making here is that if you look at all the quality teams in the NFL, the ones that make deep playoff runs, they have good offensive lines, right? They have offensive lines that are physical, that are disciplined. You know, I feel like that's the engine to your team. Right? Like if you aren't a well-functioning machine and you can't even pull out of the driveway, how do you plan to go anywhere? Right? So the offensive line and defensive line, I believe, are the driving forces for a team. I think it all starts there in the trenches, and I think that the Bears are failing to see that. I hope Ryan Poles can come around to see that. But like I said, if you look at all of the quality teams that actually do something in the playoffs, that actually win year in and year out, that actually are competitive teams, they have offensive lines and defensive lines that are usually above average to good, to great, obviously. The Bears do not have that. And until the Bears can start there and then build out, I think that they're going to have more or less some of the struggles that we're seeing now resurface in the future. So, obviously Ryan Poles didn't do enough to take care of what I believe is arguably one of the most important parts of an NFL team, and that's in the trenches. That's where the work has to be done. The importance of a solid offensive line is to protect the quarterback. I get that, but it doesn't just end there, right? A disciplined and physical line, and the reason I keep mentioning that is because they are the ones that set the tone. If they're doing their job well, that's where all the other things kind of fall into place. Now, if you have all-star players, you can have a crappy offensive line, and you'll see flashes of good plays here and there. If you don't have any kind of player like that and you have a crappy offensive line, you're going to have a stagnant offense that's just boring to watch, that isn't productive. And I think here that the Bears, if they had an offensive line that was more disciplined, more physical, that actually was more productive, that was actually better at doing their job, that you would have a higher energy that would spill into the rest of the team, and the rest of the team would actually feel like they were playing for something, right? Not doing their job only to have another part of the team hold them back or make them lose. And, these players aren't going to come out and say the offensive line, blah, blah, blah. But as fans, we sit here and we watch the game and we can just see what's going on, right? There's a huge difference between offensive lines. If you look at the other team, take the field, and how that offensive line performs pretty much every game that we watched this year, almost, the offensive line on the other side has been better. So honestly, there's a lot of work here to be done for the Chicago Bears, but I don't think, I think that it starts with the trenches, certainly of the offensive line. I don't think it ends there, like I said, but I believe that it really, really has to start there. And as a fan, I really want to see Poles and co. put an emphasis on fixing those problems. As far as the patients go for Ryan Poles and Warren and everyone else, honestly, for me this year, the only thing I expect out of them is to really plug away and fill these holes in the offensive and defensive lines. If they don't do that in the offseason, I'm not going to be hopeful to see much different, unfortunately. So anyways, guys, thank you for checking out this one. If you liked my opinion or my analysis on the situation that's going here with my beloved Chicago Bears, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment below. Let me know some other topics you'd like me to touch on. Now, I'm a Bears fan. The news isn't going to be just Chicago Bears. It'll probably be a lot of Bears, but it's going to be spread out. So anything else you want me to touch on, please let me know. But again, guys, thank you very much for stopping in to check out this one. It is Christmas Eve, so if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to you and your loved ones. And if not, Happy Holidays. Enjoy this time of year. Hopefully you can relax and make the best of it. And so I'll talk to you guys in the next one. All right, take care.